I don't know. Yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, I think I mean, I think everybody's ready to go down swinging over there. You know? Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, it's crazy. Crazy, crazy. All right. Oh, we're up. We are up. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Hi, chatting. What's up? My hi. How's it going? Iowa? Joe? Hello. A modern machine? That's great. How's everybody going? What kind of news do you want to see? What is the biggest headline that you guys have seen so far? Diana, we're all listening. I'm listening too. I want to know the news that you guys want covered here. Hello, California. All right, let me tell you what we are going to do. We're going to try to figure out what the heck is going on with this ceasefire. Because, again, it sounds like all of a sudden Iran is saying, we are leaving the negotiation table because of what's happening with Israel and Lebanon, and apparently the president is tweeting and posting, wait, no, I just talked to Benjamin Netanyahu, and they're turning troops around and they're not going to do these attacks in Lebanon, and then saying that things are going really well with Iran. We don't know. We have no idea what's happening right now, but we do have correspondents at the White House and a Pentagon team, so we're going to try to get some straight answers there. Ceasant fire. That is a very good way to describe it, hi. Ceasant, because it's still going on, very much so. Hello, Idaho. How's it going? Wait, did you say you're on a 38-year-old machine? What? How are you watching this on a 38-year-old machine? That is a very good question. All right, so we've got different chats happening in different places. If you're ever wondering, like, what are you talking about? That's not happening in the chat. There's a chat going on TikTok, there's a chat going on YouTube, and there's a chat going on Twitch. And all the chats have a little bit of a different flavor. So if you are just following us and you're not sure exactly what this is, that up there, that's 30 Rock. 30 Rockefeller in New York. Down here and over here, which is, no, this way, which is about to pop up on this big screen, that is Universal Studios, Hollywood. And we are a news show that starts on NBC at 5 o'clock. It's 4:49 here on the West Coast. So in about 10 minutes, we're going to give you all the news that you can use at an hour clip, and then we will be able to talk to you during commercial breaks. And if you have questions or you want to comment about whatever you're seeing, feel free to do so. But just be nice. Try not to troll people. Let's see here. Leo, basketball game. Wemby, yeah. We'll see what happens on Wednesday, right? Did you see what the Dems want to do to Trump for his birthday? I don't know which one you're talking about. Are you talking about the, let me see. Let me Google it real fast here, Diana. I don't know if anybody's spelled it out. Are you talking about people bowing out of his celebration, or the 250th celebration, or are you talking about something specific? Because I want to know. 15th Ward, what's up? How's it going? Also, about a possible Cubs game. Interesting. Hey, MMA wifey, long time no see. Independent journalism, Max Columbus. I think independent journalism is so important these days. Mainstream journalism and independent journalism working together, I think they're hugely important. And I do think that it's important for mainstream journalism to work with independent journalists anytime they like uncover something. And, you know, again, more eyes on something, the better. And especially when you're looking at something with discerning eyes. That being said, what is mainstream these days? Is this mainstream? Are we mainstream? Is social media mainstream? Because I think that you guys might be watching on YouTube, Twitch, and then TikTok. Or is just old school television mainstream? That's the question. Because social media is definitely where a lot of people get their news these days. Helmuth live chat feature makes it my favorite news format. Oh, thanks. Hopefully we can keep it going for a while. This is totally an experiment here, but I love doing it. It's my favorite part of the day. Argentina, ojime, Marquitos, how are you? Watching from Argentina, that's amazing. Wait, hold up. Argentina, Australia, Idaho. We have people from all over the place. Citizen reporters and podcasters, very important part of the ecosystem too. I say the more the merrier. You just got to figure out how to read the news like a journalist. I would, you know, I get in trouble and some people disagree, but I think that we're entering an age in which everybody should be a journalist. And what is a journalist? A journalist is somebody that just takes information, is able to process what they see, and is able to tell somebody else about that information. And that's kind of what we all do, and you see it all the time. The best type of journalism is first-person reporting, the type of journalism where somebody sees something, somebody asks questions, somebody digs, and they take that and they internalize it, and then they process it, and they put it together in a way that people can understand, and then they disseminate it. And to be honest, like these days, that's anybody that has access to information and has access to context. The context part is difficult, and there are all kinds of different types of journalism, but first-person reporting and first-person accounts are the cornerstone of journalism. Don't forget it. Let's see, News Truth. Let's see. Okay, hold up. Let me just figure out what Citizens Reporter. I don't think he's gonna do a UFC fight. I think he's going to have a UFC fight at the White House, unless 15th Ward, you know something that we don't. That would be wild. But yeah, he's going to have a cage fight in front of the White House on the front lawn. There is somewhat of like this, you know, shell that's going to be going around the octagon, and it's going to be outside. And I grew up in New Mexico, so I've been to a lot of fights, and not very many of them are outside. But things get, I don't know, it's going to be interesting. UFC, yep. Tons of people are canceled on the Washington. Interesting. We'll see. We'll see if that happens. Helmuth, it is. It's like it's a green tea. I just don't know. It's got an essence of something else. We'll have to ask George. It's kind of like, it's a little fruity, but I like it. And it's healthy because it's green tea. Hi. I saw that, but we are not talking about that here. Wrong network, and yikes, like that's some drama happening over there. Interesting. But yeah, we are all very, very interested to see what happens next. With the big hat. SML? Oh, that's a really nice question from you, SML. I'm doing fine. How are you doing today? Are you doing pretty good? Miss K? Yes, I miss living in New Mexico. I miss it every single day. I miss living in Albuquerque on the west side. I miss living in Santa Fe. I miss living in Belen, kind of. Sound of the trains. We lived right next to the railroad tracks, and so I'll never forget the sound of Belen. Let's see. George is... I don't know where George is. I have no idea. He's not here right now, but he's coming in a little bit. Miss K, where do you live now? White Sands is beautiful. We used to take sleds, wax them, and then we would just slide down the sand. It was so much fun. Give me 2 seconds here. I just need to double check some stuff. Make sure everything is good. All right, so here's a plan. We're gonna start with what's happening with Iran, because we have questions. Then we're going to be going to Delaney Hall. It is that detention center that's out in New Jersey. It's now it's going to be under a curfew pretty soon. So we're going to be asking our reporter on the ground, Aaron McLaughlin, what is the latest? There's a crowd there. We know there's a bunch of cops there. We know there's a bunch of federal officers, and it doesn't look like anybody is going home anytime soon. So we'll see what happens. And then we've got the latest in Maine. Graham Plattner, I don't know if you guys have been following that very spicy race, political race. All of a sudden, the Senate race is looking into Oppo research that was done by the campaign to see what Oppo research might be out there. It ended up getting leaked. There are allegations of sexting and all kinds of stuff. Lisa's here. Look at that. There she is. What's up, Lise?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Wait, were you there the whole entire time, or was
No, I jumped in. I jumped
in
a little late because we were going through some plans for tomorrow. We have a whole lot of big primary coverage coming up tomorrow in our hour, so we were just going through the plans for that.
Wait, you guys can hear Lisa, right? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear Lisa?
I'm in your ear, but I'm unmuted to them, so they should be able to hear me, in theory.
Yeah, I hope they can. Jay Place is like, can you show the control room the whole show? I can't promise that I can do that because Lisa sometimes hits people.
I don't hit people.
And physical violence is not.
I have been spoken to about that.
30 Rock.
2 minutes out. 2 minutes.
Yeah, we could leave it.
Let me tell you how I really broke my hip, guys.
But I will say, I think some people prefer to just watch the show sometimes too. So I try to do both. Wisconsin. Hey, Lisa, I don't know if you saw, but we have people from Argentina. We have people from Australia. We have people from Wisconsin. We got people from Florida. We have people from Idaho.
I am married to an Argentinian,
right now.
So I love that.
I know. Jorge.
Yep.
Lisa, what is your thought on independent journalism? And do you think that we should be working with independent journalists? Max has the best journalism questions. All right,
Wow,
we've got 90
great.
seconds.
That's
90
a
seconds
great
before
question.
the show. Ooh, San Antonio Spurs. Sam Brock would like to have a word. But yeah, we'll see what happens this week.
Maybe we should ask the chat.
San Antonio. I know. Who do you guys have?
Of course, the Knicks.
The Knicks.
1 minute, top of the show.
1 minute out. Somebody, let's see, what was this about?
So, in my opinion, I think all journalism should be
Brand design
independent.
and web development.
I think at its core, it should be independent.
Lise, that is a very deep answer.
45.
I love that answer. Very, very deep. All right, 45 seconds. Oh, by the way, they were asking where George was. George is right
Hi,
here.
George.
That's that
I'm here,
booming.
I'm alive, I'm well.
The booming.
Thank you for asking.
All right, I'm muting
Thank you
myself.
for asking.
I appreciate it.
We have nothing on that. Can we switch to this? If it's back up, hold on, let me see.
1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know why I turned off. 20 seconds, Gotti? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, 1, 2.
He's having issues with the brown.
There we go.
got it.
All right, we're back in.
This is from B to G, Gotti.
That was a close one, huh? Have a good show, everybody. 5 seconds.
Standing? Good show, sir. In 3, 2.
And tonight, a blur of conflicting messages in the Middle East. Are peace talks totally off, like Iranians have said today? Or is there a breakthrough imminent? Right now, the status of negotiations, it is entirely unclear. It is changing literally by the hour, and it's all because of this, the scene in Lebanon where Israeli attacks are escalating. Take a look at just one of those attacks. This is the destruction at a hospital in the southern part of this country, where Lebanese officials say that Israeli strikes totally ravaged the place and hurt 13 staff members in the process. Those attacks in Lebanon causing even more evacuations, and according to Iran state media, causing Tehran to suspend peace talks with the United States, putting a temporary stop to the negotiations we've been following for weeks. But here is where things get a little bit confusing. That's all according to them, right? Well, right after we heard Iran say that, For now, they're calling it quits. President Trump said this on Truth Social. Talks are continuing at a rapid pace with the Islamic Republic of Iran. Thank you for your attention to this matter. The dizzying back and forth as both the United States and Iran continue to exchange fire, especially confusing given that they are in a ceasefire right now. The United States targeting radar and drone control sites at these two parts of Iran, while Iran has fired 2 ballistic missiles at an American base in Kuwait recently, setting off sirens there. The Pentagon says both of those were intercepted and no one was hurt. Now we start in Washington, where NBC News Chief White House correspondent Garrett Haake is standing by. Garrett, yet another question mark here. The president, I believe, just posted that he might have convinced Israel not to attack and troops were turning around. Like, what is happening? What is the latest right now?
Yeah, Gotti, look, the Lebanon part of this story has been kind of underreported in the United States, but to Iran, at least, it is central to the question about whether this is really a ceasefire or not. They have hinged their continuation of talks with the United States on Israel ending its war with Hezbollah, which is taking place across southern Lebanon. The president has posted twice today about a phone call he had with Prime Minister Netanyahu, both times suggesting that he has convinced Netanyahu to either back off attacking Beirut specifically or to back off shooting at Lebanon or Hezbollah entirely. That's in contrast with what Netanyahu has put out about that call. He says they're still going to shoot at Beirut if they have to, and they're still going to continue their operations in southern Lebanon. What happens next in Lebanon, I think, will be critical to the wider war. And candidly, we just don't have as much visibility as we'd like into this. But we do know that this relationship between the president and Netanyahu has become somewhat strained, going back to last summer when the president lashed out at Netanyahu over his actions in Gaza. So there has been some frustration here. And if it tips the war back into a wider conflict, I think that frustration will only grow.
So is this a ceasefire right now? Like, are we closer to an actual deal or are we farther away?
A colleague of ours called this an ease fire, and I think I like that better. There's no stoppage of shooting going on. We know that Iran has fired missiles at U.S. bases in Kuwait. We know that U.S. has fired missiles at Iran drone launching facilities. I think the best language I would put around this is this idea of there's not major combat operations going on. And when I asked the president about this today, he said he doesn't intend to restart them. His basic quote was that he doesn't want to start dropping bombs again. He thinks he can hold on to this blockade for a long time and not have to ramp things all the way back up to the kind of major combat we were seeing earlier this year. But he's only one vote in that, Gotti. I mean, the Iranians get a vote in this too. And if they're truly unsatisfied with the state of peace talks or not in Lebanon, this thing could fire back up again pretty quickly.
Yeah, sounds like a low-key war. NBC's Garrett Haake, thank you so much. Now to New Jersey, where at least 50 people were charged last night for violating a curfew that has been put all around an immigration detention center. This is according to 2 senior law enforcement officials. Now, it comes after back-to-back nights of protests outside that facility turned chaotic. There were scenes like this playing out on the ground. So far tonight, things have picked up and family visitations have now also resumed. The curfew ordered by Newark's mayor and apparently enforced by local authorities to keep the peace there is what they expect to see tonight. But protesters say they have been standing with detainees who are raising concerns over poor living conditions and bad food inside the center. DHS denies those allegations. Let's bring in Aaron McLaughlin, who's out there following this story for us. Aaron, what's the latest outside Delaney Hall, and what are officials saying about what's happening inside right now?
Well, Gotti, at the moment, it is a peaceful yet tense situation. You see behind me the security perimeter that has been set up about a half a mile away from Delaney Hall. Down that way is the largest ICE facility in the Northeast. You can barely see it. That's how far away they set up the security perimeter. And then over this way, you can see about 50 or 60 protesters have gathered. We are expecting that curfew once again at 9 p.m. tonight. And then over that way is a sewage facility. And I can tell you, Gotti, it smells like a sewage facility out here. From this setup, it is very clear that state and local authorities do not want these protesters protesters here past 9 p.m. They do not want to see the kinds of violence that played out over the weekend, really intense clashes between police and protesters, setting garbage on fire, setting trash on fire, moving around those metal barricades, police responding with tear gas, rubber bullets, pepper balls. The acting attorney general today put out a statement pointing to some of the violence, saying that at least one man was arrested for biting a federal ICE officer, putting out a still image of that bite mark. It's the kind of violence that authorities are very clearly concerned about playing out tonight. Gadi?
And Aaron, what sparked all this?
Well, we spoke with an attorney of some of the detainees currently being held inside Delaney Hall, and she described really abhorrent conditions. She said that detainees were being fed really poor quality food, sometimes deprived of that food, also deprived, she said, of necessary medical care. Just a litany of issues that she's alleging playing out inside the hall itself. Take a listen to what she had to say.
Most of the time, the milk is either spoiled, very close to the expiration date, so it's not good. They were served bread with mold. I had a client that was actually released by Delaney through an habeas corpus, and after being released, he had to undergo surgery because of the food that he ate.
Those are allegations that have been denied by the Department of Homeland Security. Tom Homan, over the weekend, according to two sources with knowledge of the matter, says that the border czar visited Delaney Hall and sat down for a meal. He described the meal as, quote, fine. Nevertheless, this crowd extremely angry about the allegations happening at Delaney Hall. And as you can see over here, police officers have zip ties preparing for more arrests tonight. Gadi?
And Aaron, given the size of the crowd that's there and the size of the crowd of officers that are behind you there, does it look like we're going to see more clashes tonight?
Well, I mean, if you look at this crowd, it certainly seems like they are gearing up for some sort of confrontation. Many of them have come equipped with gas masks. And if last night was any indication, the minute that curfew hit, there were dozens of arrests made just for simply violating those curfew rules set in place to prevent this kind of gathering right now. Gadi?
Aaron McLaughlin, thank you. And the likely Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate in Maine is facing another controversy that could jeopardize his party's chances of flipping the seat. Graham Plattner's campaign confirmed that he sent several women sexually explicit texts at the beginning of his marriage. Now, Plattner's wife reportedly told his campaign about those messages last summer. Plattner pushed back on those claims, but he hasn't denied their existence.
The Wall Street Journal and the New York Times ran stories without any evidence besides the gossip from a former staffer. I'm sorry, that's frankly journalistic malpractice. We pushed back on it, they won it, they did it anyways.
So are you confirming that the messages did not exist?
What's that?
The messages, they did not?
I'm confirming that what Genevieve McDonald said in the New York Times is not true.
And joining us now is NBC's chief Capitol Hill correspondent, Ryan Nobles. Ryan, what's in these alleged messages?
Well, we don't know what specifically is in those messages, Gadi, but we know overall that they are sexually suggestive texts that were sent by Graham Plattner to at least a half a dozen women who were not his wife. And these messages were sent in the early stages of their marriage. Their marriage has only been around since 2023, so it wasn't that long ago. But the Plattners say that they've worked through those issues from the early part of their marriage, and his wife is standing by him. She actually revealed the text messages to a member of the campaign when they asked for any potential damaging opposition research that could come out against Plattner. And then it was a former campaign staffer who then made a couple of media outlets aware of the content of these messages. There's always the possibility that the messages do come out because there are at least a half a dozen dozen women that were the recipients of these messages. But right now, all we know is that they were sexually suggestive texts that were sent by Plattner to women who were not his wife.
Wow, so preemptive opposition research from his own campaign, pretty wild. I mean, the election season, we always see opposition research, but this is new. And Planter, he's not new to controversy. He notably covered up a tattoo, I believe, that critics said looked a lot like a Nazi tattoo. Is the Democratic Party still standing behind him?
They are, Gotti. In fact, many of Democratic senators that we talked to today doubled down in their support of Graham Plattner. You're right. He has had a long line of scandals since he launched his campaign for the Senate. But what's been interesting about the way that this has progressed is that he seems to only get more popular with each scandal. When the suggestive Nazi tattoo came out, he tried to explain that he received this tattoo while he was in the throes of military service, that he didn't really know what it was, just thought it looked like a cool tattoo. He has since had it covered up. He was raised a lot of questions about some inflammatory former social media posts that he has since taken down. He has said over and over again that he is not a perfect person and that he's been through a lot, that he suffers from PTSD and has made mistakes. But he believes that his policy positions are ones that identify with the people of Maine, and that will ultimately be the difference in winning and losing. So far, Democrats are buying that argument. They really don't have any other choice because he's the overwhelming favorite to win the Democratic primary next week.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, like, are scandals like this hitting the same as they used to in the past, or are we in kind of a different era of politics here?
Yeah, I don't know how many of our viewers remember the name Gary Hart, who was a presidential candidate in the 80s, who was thought to be the next big political star whose campaign completely ended because of an extramarital affair. And it was just an extramarital affair. That seems like a bygone era. It does seem as though it takes a lot for a personal scandal to knock a politician off course, especially when that candidate has found a direct connection with his voters. Now, the one thing I'll say about the situation with Plattner is he does appear to be very popular with Maine Democrats. We don't know whether or not that popularity extends to independent voters and even some Republicans who he will likely need to win in November. But there's a broader problem for the Democratic Party because Plattner has no connection with voters in, say, North Carolina or Iowa or Georgia, other potential Senate battlegrounds, and you could already see Republicans starting to tie Plattner and his scandalous past to other candidates across the country and force those candidates to say whether or not they are sticking with Graham Plattner. So even though Plattner may survive this, that doesn't mean that there isn't some damage that's going to happen to the broader Democratic Party as a result.
Yeah, we'll see how this plays out. I remember when a scream could end a campaign. Ryan Nobles, thank you. And a North Carolina police officer has been charged with assault after he was caught on camera punching a woman during an arrest. We're going to show you that video, but a warning, it's disturbing. This doorbell camera footage shows 22-year-old Carson Ryder dragging the woman to the ground and punching her in the head. Then you see a second officer come in to help. He handcuffs her, he arrests her. Officers say Ryder turned himself in this morning, but he was released on a $10,000 bond. NBC's George Solis is following this one for us. And George, I was reading in here. Do I understand this right? This was not the first time that this officer responded to a call with this same woman, right?
Yeah, that's right, Gotti. So the plot thickens, so to speak. NBC went through several records here, and we went through some court documents, and we found that they actually did meet sometime last year where this officer, Carson Ryder, was the complainant, the person that wrote the report on his interaction where Sherry Moore resisted arrest. She pled guilty to that incident. So that brings us now to this particular one. We still don't know what events preceded this altercation here, but obviously it has raised a lot of eyebrows, even within the police department in itself. It, of course, went viral, which sparked some unrest in the town. A lot of people calling for those charges in this incident to be dropped, which I'll get to in a minute, and for that officer to be fired. Now, as this played out, the officer was first fired, and then, as we mentioned, he was arrested after turning himself in and charged with assault. The family has now retained the services of civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who in a statement today on behalf of the family wrote, Cherie Moore called for help during a mental health crisis, but instead of receiving compassion and care, she was met with violence. Going on to say, the footage of this encounter is deeply disturbing and raises serious questions that demand answers and accountability. On that note, Ben Crump and the family are expected to hold a press conference tomorrow. And as far as the charges that Cherie Moore is facing, or was facing, I should say, she's still looking at that breaking or entering charge, but the charges of resisting arrest and assaulting that officer were dropped. Should also note that we tried to reach out to any attorney listed for that officer, but could not find one. No telling whether or not he will attend his first appearance, which is scheduled around 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, or whether a personal, an attorney will be appointed for him tomorrow during that hearing. There is also, Gotti, a city council meeting today where a number of people showed up with pins and support calling for justice for Cherie Moore. So there's still plenty of people in this community that are outraged by this series of events, by this video. And of course, again, that family now looking for some legal help and of course demanding justice as well.
George Solis, thank you. And now to Laos and that cave rescue that kind of all of a sudden became an unexpected self-rescue. Check this out. This is the moment that 5 of those men trapped inside that cave, apparently they just walked out after water levels finally receded enough for them to come out on their own. But now there's this race against time to rescue 2 men that are still trapped in the cave there for nearly 2 weeks. They are praying that they are still alive. The issue is divers don't know exactly where they are. This all happened after rain flooded the cave, leaving everyone inside stranded. We've been talking about another group of 5 men who were stuck in that same cave, but in a different area. And again, all 5 have now safely made it out. One of them rescued last Friday, while the remaining 4 were able to get out on their own on Saturday. Now, water levels dropped so low, they were able to walk right out. They're very emotional. You can see hugging those rescuers, crying. But now bad weather is threatening to mess up that mission, flood the cave once again. Let's bring in NBC's Janice Mackey-Freyer, who's in Beijing. Janice, do divers who are going into that cave still looking for those 2, do they have any clues as to where the last 2 might be?
Well, Gotti, it's been 12 days since the men entered the cave. Rescuers are targeting chambers that are about 1,000 feet in. They know there's an air pocket. It's just a matter of reaching it. They're using ropes to rappel down these shafts. There's another team in the jungle exploring holes to try to find new ways to get into the cave. That might be easier. But they're finding bigger risks. The tunnels are so razor sharp that it's impossible for them to drop down. But when they were out, they heard noises, scratching sounds deep inside the cave. When one of the divers, Josh Richards, used a hammer to knock the rock, there was a sound in response that wasn't an echo. I spoke with him earlier, and he says the sounds could be a lot of things. It could be bats, wildlife, the rock itself, but he gets that people are looking for any signs of hope. Here's what he said.
We still have 2 families that are sitting by the mine entrance in the hope that something will happen. These 2 guys could still be found, and I can tell you that the search crews who are staying on are definitely dedicated to trying to make that a reality.
Josh Richards also said that he and 2 other divers, they're stepping back now because the way the operation is unfolding requires skills that they don't have. The diving part of this, he confirms, is over. Gotti?
Wow. And as for those 5 that made it out, they got a lot of help from supplies from the rescue crews that were able to get to them before they were able to come out. But they, I mean, they just walked out on their own. Like, was that super unexpected, or do they think that that could happen here?
Well, it was not what anyone expected. From the time they were discovered last week, alive and perched on this ledge about 800 feet in, there was the expectation they would need to dive out. Rescuers were teaching them how to use oxygen tanks and scuba equipment, and they were preparing them mentally for it because Risk in something like this, Gotti, is panic. The tunnels are so tight, there's just no room for error. Josh Richards calls them tubes. One of them was so tight, he had to take off his helmet just to get his head through. But it shows how important weather is in this, because the rain had stopped and rescuers had been pumping the water out. The 4 men made the decision on their own, and they mustered the courage to go for it. And a day earlier, the first survivor was brought out by divers. And what's mind-boggling in this, for me anyway, is that the 5 men went into the cave in the same way. They went in searching for gold. They had some supplies and a plan to stay for a couple of days. That's when the weather turned and triggered this operation that has captured everyone's attention. Gotti?
And Janice, I mean, how big are the caves that we're talking about here?
Are you claustrophobic? I mean, I feel confined on
Very
the subway.
claustrophobic,
So
looking at these,
imagine these
looking at
tunnels
these
and
images.
tubes with barely a few inches on either side. Yeah, the rocks are super sharp and the water is so muddy that divers said it was like looking through coffee. And the more flooding there is, the less oxygen a person has. So all of it is a really hostile environment. The 5 men who made it out have been sharing what they know about this cave system with rescuers, and they have literally sketched it out. The operation will be taking bigger risks now as they try to push further in, and that's why pumping out the water remains a key part of the strategy, as well as looking for these other, possibly easier ways to get in. The head of the operation spoke to us earlier today, and he became really emotional. He said the only equipment they have, they were able to bring these people out. He said, "I think we did it," he said, and then added, "For the rest of them, we're just going to try to do our best." Gotti?
Yeah, and listen very closely for any more sounds or maybe knocks from inside that cave. Janice Mackey-Frayer, thank you so much for your reporting. And don't go anywhere. Coming up next, with less than 24 hours to go for major primary races across the country, we are checking in on what some closely watched races here in California are looking like, especially the LA mayor's race. Plus, there's wild video of a massive explosion at a fireworks factory. More on what went down there. And also, if you see this QR code, well, guess what? You can pull out your phone, you can scan it, and boom, it takes you right to a chat where we're just gonna hang out with you during the breaks, throughout the show. If you have something that you want to talk about, feel free to weigh in. See you then. All right, George, how much time do we have? 2 minutes. Okay. Always cold in the 6. Hey, what's up? Always cold in the 6. Good to see you. Good to see you. Laundry. Hold on. Let me see what you're talking about. Can you show the control room? Oh, yeah, I forgot to do that. There's Lisa. All right. Hey,
Steve,
how are you? How's it
doing?
going? Good to see you.
How fun to do this.
Yeah, great to see
Really
you.
happy to be here.
Welcome.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Let's get you a chair.
That's so interesting. I thought, is it a standing situation?
We can stand, but
I've just been watching very late because all my friends watched it back in England. Like maybe whenever have you seen that show Borgen?
I know. I don't think I have.
It's like a Danish West Wing meets how it's a show about politics and the media. You'd really love it. It's brilliant. And it's like half about the politician. She becomes the prime minister kind of somewhat accidentally, and then about this news anchor. And it's like as much about the news thing and the TV news show as it is about the thing. Anyway, they're set up in the Danish news program. They both
It's
stand.
like this? Oh, yeah.
But the host as well.
The stand, I do like standing much more than sitting. Well, my foot's broken. I broke my foot about a month ago, and so it's been
oh wow, what were you doing?
Around. I just got old.
Climbing
42, man. I just stepped wrong, and all of a sudden, the navicular cracked. So
wow,
it's been pretty rough. Quite the races, the parallel races.
Exactly,
going on.
Spencer. Have you had Spencer? Does he?
Yeah, we had him on the show. I wasn't in, but we had him on. I think maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Tom just talked to him recently too.
Yeah.
Which is pretty interesting. All right, so I think we're going Liz Kreutz first, and then. All right.
And you should be able to hear it.
Okay. Thank you.
10 seconds.
Okay.
Here we go, Gotti, standing straight in. 5, 4, 3.
Hey, welcome back. In less than 24 hours, voters in 6 different states are going to head to the ballot box, but across the country, A lot of attention is on one election in particular, the LA's mayor race, right? Well, take a look at this recent poll. Current mayor Karen Bass, city council member Nithya Raman, and former reality TV star Spencer Pratt are neck and neck within the margin of error, essentially caught in a three-way tie when you consider the poll's margin of error there. Let's go to NBC's Liz Kreutz, who is right now in the Pacific Palisades, such a centerpiece to this entire race right now. Liz, what are you hearing from voters there?
Hey, Gotti. I mean, we're hearing from people across the city that we've been talking to over the past several days that people want change. A lot of voters are not happy with the current state of Los Angeles. The key issues of this race centering around homelessness and crime, the fire recovery, which of course is centered here in Pacific Palisades. Spencer Pratt leading the charge on that as somebody who's from the Palisades, lost his home in the Palisades. His parents lost his home in the Palisades. And the other issue being the decline in Hollywood production here in LA and people wanting that to see more production here. So all of these issues leading people to decide, do they want the progressive alternative to Karen Bass, Nithya Raman? Do they want the candidate to the right of Karen Bass, Spencer Pratt? Here in the Palisades, Gotti, almost every single person we've talked to says that they are going to vote for Spencer Pratt. Most of them would not go on camera and publicly say it. It's kind of going to this idea that there's a shy Spencer Pratt voter who don't want to publicly say it in this blue city. But what we've also learned is that you can't really put a Spencer Pratt voter in any kind of bucket. This is someone we talked to at one of his campaign rallies who's supporting Pratt, and then for governor is supporting Democratic former Congresswoman Katie Porter. Listen. Do you think people would be surprised to learn of a Spencer Pratt, Katie Porter vote?
I don't know that they would, because Spencer he's working on something specific to Los Angeles. It's specific to what we see every single day going on around him.
Nithya Raman.
What do you like about her?
She is one of the most progressive candidates in the race that has a chance of winning against Karen Bass in a general. And I just don't think Spencer Pratt is any good for LA.
And Gotti, another sentiment we're hearing from people is, look, you know, I support Bass, I support Pratt and what he's doing. I hear him, I sympathize with him. I just don't think that he has the experience to run this city. But again, we'll see tomorrow. It is a very tight race.
Yeah, a very tight race indeed. And tomorrow is also the primary for the governor's race, which is the most expensive governor's race in American history. Like $315 million spent so far. Is there any sense on who could win tomorrow?
Yeah, well, things sort of, a wrench was thrown into this race, right, Gotti, in April when Congressman Eric Swalwell dropped out of the race because of those sexual assault allegations against him. And at that point, there really was not a clear frontrunner to replace him. He was the person that a lot of the establishment party was going towards. The unions were backing him. So Democrats have been really reluctant to vote. We're seeing really late voter turnout because a lot were kind of waiting to see who is going to rise to the top. We have started to see that over the past few weeks. The top polling candidate right now is Javier Becerra, a Democrat who worked in the Biden administration. Also Tom Steyer, the billionaire climate activist who surprisingly, even as a billionaire, has kind of captivated a lot of the Bernie Sanders progressive vote. And then also Republican Steve Hilton, who is British. He worked for British Prime Minister David Cameron. He was a TV news personality. So those are really the three top contenders right now for governor to replace Gavin Newsom.
NBC's Liz Kreutz. Liz, thank you so much. And one of those people we were just talking about is with us right now. But again, LA is one of those jungle primaries, which means if no one gets a majority in these races, then the top two finishers will move on to the general election. Doesn't matter, Democrat or Republican. It could be one or the other or both. And in the race for governor, that's looking like a three-way race between Javier Becerra, Tom Steyer, and Steve Hilton, as we just heard. Steve Hilton is a Republican candidate for governor. We reached out to the candidates to see if they wanted to join us. Hilton responded. He is with us right now. Steve, thank you so very much for being with us. So first of all, I'm still thinking back to what we just saw, and I'm not sure if you were able to see it. That very split ticket with
interesting
with Spencer Pratt and Hobbs. I mean,
Katie Porter.
Yeah, or Katie Porter. Yeah. What do you make of that type of split there?
Well, I think the most important words that we heard in Liz's report were those words: "People want change." That's exactly right. Now, some people will want change in a particular ideological direction. I think that person you spoke to there obviously wants some better management in Los Angeles and a change of direction politically in California. But I don't know what Katie Porter represents in that sense. She's not really in contention now. Really, the choice in the governor's race is basically more of the same with Javier Becerra, even further in the same ideological direction we've been going with Tom Steyer, or real change with me. And the thing that I always point to, I know people look at this race and they say, how can a Republican possibly win? It's California. You're never going to get a Republican. The thing I look at is a recent poll, not about the candidates, but about how people feel in California, showed that there's a majority, 56%, think the state's going in the wrong direction. And that's why I think that if I make it through this primary, which I'm confident I will, and it's a straight choice between me and either Becerra or Tom Steyer, people will vote for change because we obviously need it in California.
Policy-wise, what do you make of Spencer Pratt's, the policies that he has put forward in terms of mandatory treatment and the homeless situation here in Los Angeles?
Well, I completely agree with that. Actually, I published my homelessness plan for the state about a year or so ago, and it's very similar. And it starts with just recognizing that these homeless encampments are illegal. They've always been illegal. And it's not just that they're illegal, they're also completely cruel. If we would never accept someone we loved living in those conditions for so long. And so I don't know why we've come to accept it for people we don't know. And so it starts with acknowledging that you're never going to get people better, whether they're suffering from mental health problems or drug or alcohol addiction or some combination of those things. Whatever it is, it's not going to be fixed if you're on the streets. So that's the starting point. And I agree with Spencer about that. And in fact, my plan is to say to local leaders across the state, I'm going to give you a certain amount of time. And if you haven't cleaned up these homeless encampments and got people off the streets into something constructive, then I will use state law enforcement resources to do it, because we can't go on like this. It's really unacceptable.
There's a big difference between campaigning on it and then also making things happen once you're elected. If you are elected, I mean, you and Spencer Pratt have a lot in common in that if you are elected, he's going to City Hall, maybe, you're going to Sacramento, maybe. Both of those places seem to be hostile territory for a Republican.
Well, it's certainly true that the thing we have in common is that we're both outsiders, explicitly running to shake up a system, whether that's here in LA or statewide, that just obviously isn't working. I mean, you look at we've had 16 years of Democrats running everything in Sacramento, and the results are just really disappointing. We've got the highest poverty rate in the country, the highest unemployment rate, the highest cost of living by far. The education results are among the worst in the country, even though we spend nearly the most, and so on. Every single area of policy is really not doing well. The difference between myself and Spencer is our experience, actually. Most of my career has been in business. As you heard from Liz, I did have a period sitting in the chair where you are as a host on TV. But I've also had experience in government, working as senior advisor to the UK Prime Minister. And I saw how hard it is to make change happen, actually. And the attitude you need to have to get things through a really kind of entrenched bureaucracy. I learned a lot from that, and I think I'm well prepared to make the changes we need in California.
A lot of people are going to be tuning in and they're going to be like, wait a minute, this accent, it's a British accent. We have had a governor here in California with an accent before. He was also a Republican, and he came in with some ideas, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then he found himself facing a majority in Sacramento. Right now, there's a supermajority there, right? So if you are sitting in the governor's mansion trying to pass legislation through a very hostile legislature, how do you do that?
Well, I think there's two parts to it. First of all, there's a lot you can get done directly through the executive branch. Many of the things that we're seeing, the barriers to building housing, the cost of construction, the cost of energy in California, the fact that our electric bills are more than double the national average, that our gas prices are the highest in the country. So many of the decisions that lead to that are actually not from the legislature. They're from decisions made and rules made in the administrative agencies controlled by the governor. So on day one, because I've been well prepared, I've been working on this, we've got the policies and the plans and even the people that we're going to put into these agencies. We can start, for example, opening up energy production in California to bring gas prices down, increasing supplies of water to our farmers in the Central Valley, and so on. All these things that we can do directly through the executive branch. Not everything, but there's a lot. When it comes to legislation, I've actually got experience at working across party lines. The Prime Minister I worked for was a Conservative Prime Minister, David Cameron, but it was a coalition government. It was two parties the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats. I actually shared an office in 10 Downing Street, right next to the Cabinet Room, with my opposite number from another party. We argued a lot, but we also understood how to make things happen. And so I think that, one last thing I'd say about that is, I think that there's an understanding right across the board, even among Democrats, that we've got to make some changes. For example, the first part of my tax plan is your first 100 grand tax-free, no state income tax. Katie Porter, in the governor's race, she adopted that as her tax plan and said, I'm taking Steve Hilton's plan because I think it makes sense. It shows you that actually there is room for some cooperation. Not on everything, but I'm certain with a fresh attitude and some energy, we can get things done.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes tomorrow. Really appreciate
Great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And coming up, the body of a Los Alamos National Lab worker missing for months in New Mexico has been found, but there's a lot of questions still swirling about her disappearance. More ahead, so stay tuned. All right.
Fantastic.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Good luck tomorrow.
All the best.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we'll see you.
Super interesting. I probably haven't seen as much about their platforms as you have, obviously being in the state, but no, just very interesting.
Are you able to lower the brightness? Just lower
90 back to camera 2.
All right, we're 90 back.
Headline is next.
Let's see. Let's stick with this. We're like a little heavy, but we're not.
Yeah, we can make it work.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you.
Do anything? Yeah, okay. 1 minute. Okay.
Looks like Chris brought up the.
Can you guys hear me?
It's just swiping between.
What was that?
Looks like
Okay.
Chris finished the breaker.
Okay.
These
45.
around, so this is just
And Gotti, we added a breaker that they have just named a new border patrol chief. We have that coming up in the next
Okay,
couple
who is
minutes.
it? Do you know?
A
who is it?
woman. Hang on 1 second.
30 seconds to camera 2.
We're back in 30.
30 seconds.
Rosario
We got a little
Pete
breaker.
Vasquez.
Rosario Pete Vasquez is head of Border Patrol.
15, Gotti, standing by. 10 seconds.
I think that's a, yeah. Okay.
Standing, sir. In 5, 4, 3.
Hey, welcome back. Here are some other headlines that we are watching tonight. After bipartisan critique and court challenges, the White House is reportedly considering backing off its anti-weaponization fund. That $1.8 billion program was created to compensate people who claim to have been targeted by the federal government. That program has been tied up in court for weeks and faced growing opposition from both parties on Capitol Hill. And yet another weekend of severe weather with at least 25 tornadoes reported in the last 48 hours. South Dakota, Kansas, Nebraska, and Colorado all affected. More severe weather is expected tonight and tomorrow across the Great Plains. And a fireworks factory erupted into a massive blast in Malta. That explosion was reportedly felt miles away, with witnesses describing their windows shattering and a towering plume of smoke rising above the factory. Authorities say no one was at the factory at the time of the explosion, but the 2 people nearby were hurt. The cause of the explosion is still under investigation. And in San Francisco, a driver crashed into 2 restaurants and took off from the scene this weekend. Now, surveillance video shows the driver plowing through a parking lot before slamming into the restaurant's van. Police are searching for the driver, and they have impounded that car. And Mexican authorities say they found a cross-border tunnel stretching about 900 feet long from San Diego to Tijuana. Officials say that tunnel was likely used to smuggle drugs, explosives, and weapons, and the entrance to that tunnel, apparently, it was hidden beneath some tile flooring in a house in Tijuana and discovered by authorities when carrying out a search warrant on unrelated charges. And you know that investigation into the disappearance of all those lab workers or people connected to government programs that started with the conspiracy linking all of them together? Well, One of those people has been found dead in a New Mexico national forest. Melissa Casillas disappeared about a year ago after she didn't show up to work at the Los Alamos National Laboratory. That's a nuclear research and development facility. Her name was circulating in those online theories surrounding missing scientists that prompted the FBI to actually open up an investigation. Joining us now is NBC's Camila Bernal. Camila, what more are we learning about the discovery of her body and how it relates to this investigation that kind of links everything together?
Yeah, so let's talk about her first. So it was a hiker that actually found her remains, and this was at a national forest that was about 6 miles from her house, so it was really close. The last time she was seen, she was actually on a highway that would lead to that national forest, and authorities right now don't have a cause or a manner of death. They're waiting for the medical examiner report, but they did say they found a handgun near the remains. So they're looking into all of this. And I don't know if you remember, this was a year ago, but when she went missing, her husband had said that she was under immense stress. He never detailed what kind of stress that was. And the daughter actually found her phone that had been wiped and her keys. And then she was obviously missing. They've been looking for her for a year. And finally, this sort of, in a way, comes to a closure.
And as I understand it, she was an administrative assistant or something like that at Los Alamos National Lab. But again, the conspiracy's online. Like, has there been anything linking her and her disappearance to any of the other people on the list?
So if you ask authorities what the link is, they're not necessarily putting that out there. But if you ask the internet,
Right.
yes,
They're like,
there are
yes,
so many
UFOs
links,
or
of course,
whatever.
because these are all scientists. These are all people that work for the government. A lot of, or some of them worked in the same place, but some of them were involved in NASA, some of them involved in UFO stuff, whether they did some research or they may have had some sort of knowledge. So that's sort of been the link for all of this. We went out to the FBI again today to ask about this case in particular, but about the investigation as a whole, because the FBI said they're spearheading this large investigation into all of these cases to try to figure out the connection. Today, they sent us back to the New Mexico State Police. And so it's a little bit frustrating because they're the ones supposed to be spearheading the investigation, and yet they don't have any updates.
And you know, the one that's very interesting that kind of kickstarted all of them is the Air Force General McCaslin out of Albuquerque, right?
Yeah.
He disappeared, possibly into the mountain. They don't know where he went, but he also left home with a gun. Do we have any update on his disappearance?
Yeah, that's one of the most recent ones. And actually, his wife, when this all happened, came out and said, look, I really don't think he was abducted for any sort of information. There were authorities that said because the internet had said he might have some UFO knowledge. And of course, authorities had said, no, he did not have UFO knowledge. That would have been enough to have him abducted. But no other new information other than he left with this revolver and disappeared.
Camila Bernal, the mystery continues there. Thank you so much. And just in the last few minutes, we've got some breaking news out of Washington. U.S. Customs and Border Protection announcing a new chief of the Border Patrol, Rosario Pete Vasquez. The spot's been vacated ever since the last chief, Michael Banks, resigned last month. And in this role, Vasquez will be responsible for the oversight of 20,000 federal law enforcement agents. And coming up in the future of everything, Florida becoming the first state to sue OpenAI over safety concerns. What we're learning about those concerns coming up next. Thank you so much. All right, 90 seconds. We got 90 seconds, chat.
Was it the aliens?
Camila wants to know if it was aliens. I think it was Three Body Problem. Have you seen that that show? No. You should watch it. So it's a show on Netflix and it's a book, and it's like, I think it's 3 books. They're really, really good. But all of a sudden, all these scientists go missing.
And what was the reason?
The UFO. Well, like of aliens from a different, star system. But like, that's out there in the zeitgeist. So then all of a sudden, confirmation bias. But who knows? Maybe something. Got to read the book. Bink's Cat. Yes, it's very, very good. And also the Netflix episode is really good too. It's a very interesting perspective because it's UFOs through the eyes of China as opposed to the eyes of the United States, which, novel approach. MS, I'm looking from UK, but America, abnormal? Thanks.
30 back.
Let's see. How do graphics and lower throw? Let me read. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay, here we go. AI coming up
10
next.
to the future bump. Bumping 5 to the bump, 4 to the bump.
Hey, welcome back. In tonight's Future of Everything, the race to go public in the world of AI just got supercharged. Anthropic has now announced that they have filed for an initial public stock offering. That's ahead of OpenAI, but as the race to go public heats up between those two organizations, OpenAI is also finding themselves in more hot water. State of Florida is now suing both the company and CEO Sam Altman over the marketing of ChatGPT as a safe tool while allegedly hiding that it could drive users towards harm. Now, in a statement to NBC News, OpenAI said in part, AI is a new and powerful technology, and we believe minors need significant protection, which is why we have put in place industry-leading protections and policies, including a more protective experience specifically for minors, an age prediction tool, defaulting users whose age we are not confident into our more protective experience, and giving parents tools to monitor their kids' use of AI. Here's what the Florida Attorney General had to say earlier today.
We're here to announce that we recently filed a monumental civil lawsuit against Sam Altman and ChatGPT for endangering our kids and deceiving parents into believing that this application is safe for use. People like Sam Altman should not be designing these products to be addictive, to go after kids, and to encourage them to do dangerous things.
And let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Misty Maris to talk a little bit more about this lawsuit. So, Misty, what exactly is at the root of this lawsuit? And does the state of Florida have a case here?
So they bring a lot of claims under several legal theories, including deceptive business practices, negligence, product liability, like we've seen before, design defect, failure to warn, fraudulent misrepresentation, public nuisance. So a whole bunch of legal theories. And the crux of the case, Gotti, is that there are significant dangers associated with the use of this, the OpenAI platform, and that the company failed to warn individuals, including vulnerable individuals like children, about those risks. And the lawsuit goes a step further and says that the company engaged in a web of deceit in order to prioritize profits over safety, and saying that the danger of addictions, cognitive decline, suicide, violence, and other harm is the result of their failures. So this is the first one against OpenAI that's actually been brought by a state.
And Altman himself, he's named in this lawsuit, which is pretty interesting. How rare is that? And exactly what does this mean for other executives if he's found guilty in the suit, or even just the messaging of going after CEOs?
Yeah, so this is really interesting, and it's out of the playbook that we saw with Big Pharma, and where CEOs are actually being identified, executives identified in lawsuits and held responsible under some legal theories for the acts of the corporation, which normally they're shielded from that. It's the corporation that gets sued. However, here, the fact that the Attorney General is actually seeking individual liability against Altman himself for what he says was reckless and willful conduct. That's what the AG put into this lawsuit, state of Florida. That certainly sends a message. And if this were to be successful, you can imagine that if CEOs and execs can be personally liable, what does that risk management look like behind the scene? Does it tighten up? So that could be the reasoning behind that legal strategy.
And do you think that we're going to see other states follow the footsteps of Florida here?
So the Florida AG said that he hopes that other states follow their lead and bring similar cases, and the legal theories could be applicable in other states as well. So I would not be surprised to see additional litigation on similar legal theories from other states, and a situation like we're seeing with other social media companies who are actually combating different lawsuits under various legal theories in multi-district litigation. So that could be the next step here.
Yeah, we'll watch for that. Misty Maris, thank you. And turning now to a medical breakthrough that we are seeing in medicine, NBC News correspondent Ann Thompson has more on the new treatment that could double survival time for pancreatic cancer patients.
It is the drug giving former Senator Ben Sasse extra time as he lives with pancreatic cancer that spread.
Tumor volume in my torso is down 76%.
Driven down, he says, by the experimental drug daraxonrasib. A new study shows the pill taken daily doubled survival time for patients with metastatic pancreatic cancer from 6.6 months with chemotherapy to 13.2 months with daraxonrasib. Results that earned a rare standing ovation at the American Society of Clinical Oncology meeting over the weekend. Dr. Brian Wolpin led the research targeting a gene called KRAS. When mutated, it causes cancer cells to grow out of control. Daraxonrasib turns it off.
It stops it, puts it in the off position, and then the cancer can't grow anymore. And that's why it works in patients.
And maybe in more cancers, including colon, ovarian, and non-small cell lung cancer. There are side effects, including the rash on Sasse's face, but it's the benefits that has the drug on the fast track for approval. Debbie Orcutt is still alive, 2 years after her diagnosis of pancreatic cancer that spread to her liver.
This is just a little bump along the way, and I fully intend on fighting it every inch of the way. Good boy.
Savoring each extra day, living with one of the most lethal cancers.
Praying for her. NBC's Ann Thompson, thank you so much. And still to come, digging into the mystery in the skies from those recent meteor sightings to sonic booms. It's raising the question whether this is becoming more common or whether we're just watching for it. But first, you got to see this. More than 1,000 people gathered in Palm Springs dressed as Marilyn Monroe to honor what would have been her 100th birthday. The gathering set a new world record for the most people dressed as the Hollywood icon, surpassing the previous mark of 254 people. Organizers even provided those costume kits featuring that signature blonde hair, that white dress, to help the attendees take part in the events. The window, that wasn't really there. We'll be right back. All right. Hi, Lise. Let's see. Oof, peace bucks. I hope she lives a wonderfully long life and hope she no cancer. Cancer's terrifying. Let's see. How are we doing on time, Lisa?
We are.
Is Tina here?
We are right on time. We're actually 4 seconds
Okay.
heavy, give or take. So we got to stay on time with these next two leads.
2.5.
Okay, got it. Tina, I think, is in the house. Did you see Tina was on the lot?
Tina was on the lot and she didn't come see you?
I know. Yeah. But she was on the lot. She was doing some cool backlot thing.
Oh, I think she was there
Looks
for,
very,
it was like a
very
conference thing. It was like
VIP.
very super
Yeah.
important work that Tina does.
Exactly. Yeah.
She's way cooler than we are.
Did you get to ride around on a golf cart? How does loading graphics in lower thirds work? That's a great question. How does it work, Lisa?
Oh my God.
It was a Saturday.
Once upon
got
a
it.
time, we used to have to code the graphics by hand, depending on the control room we were coming out of. Back in
Lisa,
my day.
Did we do a segment on Japan growing teeth? Because that is a really great story. Clippy, great idea. So Japan is looking. I think they like isolated one of the genes from sharks or something, because sharks just grow teeth every 5 seconds. And so Japan is working on growing teeth, which would change dentistry forever.
That is
We should do that
super
story.
fascinating. Yeah, let me look into that.
Yeah, we should definitely do that story. And also, did you see my story idea that I sent in
did
at
see your story
3:30
idea.
yesterday?
I did see your story idea.
Right in the middle of the
I
night.
will look at it. That's literally why we have Slack, for you to write
Yeah.
down the random thoughts you wake up in the middle of the night with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tina, no golf cart, but the backlot is nice, right? I saw you went to the comm. That comm looks like it looks like a tech campus. It's so cool.
All right, 45 seconds back.
45, we're standing? Let's do it. Okay. Ugh. There we go.
Back in 30.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to tell NBCU Academy about that. That's going to make their day, hi. That is going to make their day.
10 seconds, guys. You standing, sir?
10 seconds. Here we go. Sonic booms. Let's see what's going on.
Standing, please, in. 5, 4, 3.
Hey, welcome back. A new mystery is brewing in the skies from Texas all the way to Ohio and New England. And it's centering around this string of dramatic fireballs, meteor explosions, unexplained sonic booms, that phenomena, leaving some skywatchers to wonder whether we are seeing way more of these than we should. What is going on? Well, Steve Romo has the latest on this growing mystery.
Fireballs lighting up the sky.
Whoa!
Sonic booms rattling homes. Animals sent scurrying.
Here, George?
And one meteorite crashing through a roof.
Boom! Did I hear boom?
The latest came over the weekend. A 5-foot meteor exploding above Massachusetts, with a boom heard across the region.
Here in New England, that's pretty insane.
Mike Hankey of the American Meteor Society has been tracking it all.
When we observe daytime fireballs, they're kind of special, okay? They get people excited. They're often
they're very
have
special.
The booms. They have to outshine the sun.
In Ohio, a meteor blazed across the sky in March and a sonic boom followed. That month in Houston, reports poured in of a bright fireball and a loud blast. Later, a homeowner found a meteorite had punched into her house.
That's where it came
What?
in at.
She has it?
Rare,
That's
as
a
most
space
meteors
rock?
burn up in the atmosphere. Along the Jersey Shore
She just
in
had
April,
the rock?
People have been reporting seeing something streak across the sky.
a daytime meteor drawing hundreds of reports. Loud booms follow. In the Pacific Northwest, a vivid green fireball streaking overhead in late April. And in South Carolina, just last week,
what is it?
a
Do we have
mysterious
more
boom
cameras?
shaking the state and confusing residents. The USGS ruled out earthquakes, and experts say a large meteor is a leading theory.
Is this something that people should have on their minds all the time?
Not at all. Most of them are associated with
Avi
objects that
Loeb.
completely burn up in the atmosphere.
But is there an uptick in these events?
There was a
Yes.
big
Is there?
uptick, a noticeable uptick. It came on quickly and it turned off quickly.
Hankey saying March alone had more than double the average meteor reports, but that spike ended this spring. The latest flurry we've seen, he says, is anomalous. As we watch these jaw-dropping videos, scientists say they are glued to the data.
Wow, you never know what's going to fall from the sky. Stephen Romo, thank you so much. And finally tonight, Korean boy band BTS lighting the internet on fire. That's because they are getting ready for their first tour in years. They're dropping everything from music to stuffed animals, even, get this, their own Oreo cookie. And when it's all said and done, this tour is expected to generate $1 billion. And some fans out in Taiwan are so desperate to see them in person that they're now turning to a higher power. NBC's Jesse Kirsch explains.
In this Taiwanese temple, these young women are praying to the Taoist god of love and marriage. They're searching for a match, all right, but not with a life partner. These worshippers are looking for BTS concert tickets. The K-pop sensation is on its long-awaited world tour.
We are BTS!
The first time the whole group is together in 4 years, after South Korea's mandatory military service briefly kept them apart. Across Asia and Europe, they're often visiting just one city per country. Meanwhile, North America is getting plenty of love, with stops in 10 U.S. cities. And in Mexico last month,
son maravillosos, son muy talentosos.
all of this as BTS picks up some new hardware too. At last week's American Music Awards, BTS winning Artist of the Year, the group beating out Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, and Bad Bunny. But for all the global accolades, some fans are wondering if the group's moving further away from the K in their K-pop roots.
I just would have liked to see this album go back to singing in Korean.
The band says its latest album is an homage to Korean culture, named after a famous Korean folk song, Arirang, that some call the unofficial national anthem.
So I think the only consensus we had after the military was that we all are rooted in Korea.
Plenty of fans certainly seem to be all in, asking for a little divine intervention.
因为我觉得宁可信其有，不可信其无。 然后希望他可以帮助我顺利抢到票。
Hoping to light it up like dynamite at a concert soon. Jesse Kirsch, NBC News.
Dynamite. Jesse, thank you. That's going to do it for us tonight. I'm Gotti Schwartz. We'll see you here tomorrow. But until then, stay tuned to NBC News now. Okie dokie. That's it. Great stuff, Lise. All right, great stuff, everybody. Thank you so very much for watching. Let's see. Great show to you, too. Hi, hi. See you tomorrow.